Hello guys and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Gurunatha, and today in this video we are going to first understand how the caching works, and this we are going to understand in a simple way. Once we understand the caching concept, after that we are going to understand the types of lookup cache modes available in the lookup transformation component. So once we understand that also, and then we are going to understand that which cache mode, that is which particular cache mode we have to select on which scenario and why we have to select that cache mode only. So this we are going to understand with a real-time example. So all these topics we are going to cover in this today's video. So I request you that watch this video completely, and if you are new to our channel then please subscribe to our channel, and if you are really liking our content of this video then show us your love by liking this video, because your one like and one subscribe keep us motivated to create more such technical videos on MSBI and Power BI. Now guys, without wasting any time further, let's get started with today's video. So now let's first understand how the caching works, and this we are going to understand with this image. So now guys, let's consider that we have a client over here, okay, and he sends us some request via the web browser. Okay, now if your server has enabled the cache memory, then you will find the cache memory, otherwise you have to enable the cache memory. Now we are talking about a scenario where we have enabled the cache memory already. Okay, so the client sends us the request via the web browser. Okay, so this value will be first checked into the cache, okay, if that value exists or not. Okay, so if that value exists, then only the cache memory will output that result to the client. Okay, so guys, as you can see that the value was present in the cache memory, that's why the response sent by the cache memory to the client with the output. Okay, now let's talk about if that value was not present in the cache memory, then what will happen. Then guys, that value will be forwarded to the data warehouse to look up that value into its data warehouse. Okay, so if that value was found, then what the data warehouse will do, it will save one copy into the cache memory. Okay, so it stores that value, a copy value, into the cache memory and then sends that output to the client as a response. Okay, now the next time if the same request comes from other client or from the same client, then what will happen? If that same value comes again, then that value will be checked into the cache memory directly, and that value will be catered by the cache memory to that respective client. Okay, so if the number 1 client has been requested that value or number 2 client has been requested that value, so depending on their respective clients, the cache memory will cater that request to that particular client. Okay, so what is the benefit of having the cache memory, guys? The first benefit is that you are reducing the load of your data warehouse server. It is one of the best practices to always reduce the load of your data warehouse server. You should not expose your data warehouse server to cater all the requests of the client directly. You should always reduce the data warehouse load. Okay, and you can see that the second benefit is that we are not exposing our data warehouse server directly to the client request. Here we are keeping the cache memory as a middleware to cater the request here. Okay, so without this cache memory, a request will not go to the data warehouse server directly. Okay, so now this is again another benefit. Now hey guys, this is how the caching works. Okay, I hope you understand it. Now let's go and talk about the types of cache modes available in the lookup cache. Okay, now for the same, let me just open up my Visual Studio here, so you can see that. Now this is the same example which we have demonstrated in our previous video. Okay, hey guys, if you don't know how to configure the lookup component, and if you want to know more about how we have configured this entire example, then I request you guys that go and watch my previous video where we have explained everything about the lookup component, and we have also shown you that how to configure the lookup component with a proper example you can see here. Okay, so link of that video I'm going to provide in the below description box of this video. Please go and watch that video in case if you don't know how to configure the lookup component. So here in this example we are only going to talk about the types of cache modes available in the lookup component. So as you can see guys, the moment I clicked on the lookup component, it has shown us the cache mode type. Okay, so these are the three types of cache modes which are available in the lookup component. So that is the full cache mode, partial cache mode and no cache mode. Now let's go and understand these cache modes one by one. So first we are going to talk about the full cache mode. This is one of the default setting in the lookup component, because in the most of the situations this is one of the best settings, and it is also a go-to setting for any MSBI developer. Full cache mode, as the name says, full cache means it caches the entire dataset into its memory before the SSIS package starts its execution. Means before your SSIS package starts its execution, it caches everything into its lookup memory. Hence the name is full cache mode. Now when to use this full cache mode? So you have to select this cache mode only when your input source data is greater than your reference table data. Okay, so in this case my dim customer is my reference table data. Okay, and my input source data here in this case is a flat file source. Okay, so if your flat file source data is greater than your reference master table data, then yes, you have to select this full cache mode. Okay, now on which scenario you have to select this full cache mode? So let's understand a scenario with a proper example. So for that, let's go to the image here. Okay, and here let's suppose if your input source data is having like 100k records. Okay, and your master table reference data set is having like suppose 1000 records or 100 records. Let's consider for this example. Okay, so in this case you have to select the full cache mode, as we discussed just earlier that if your source data is greater than your reference master table data set data, then yes, you have to select the full cache mode. So this is the ideal example. Let's suppose if you have like 100k properties, you have to dump this 100k properties into this data warehouse, and here you have something called as property types like flats, apartments, villas and so on, you know. So now depending on the property type, if you want to dump that data, this whole data 100k data into this data warehouse, then definitely you have to select the full cache mode only. Okay, so what will happen if you select this full cache mode? So definitely it will caches everything before our package starts its execution. Our SSIS package starts its execution, it caches this entire master table data into its cache memory. Okay, now as you can see that to cache this 100 records, it will not take any kind of memory, and in this way our package performance will not come down, because this is the ideal example to select the full cache mode. Okay, so guys, if your source data is greater than your reference master table data set, then definitely select the full cache mode. So let me just write it over here. So if your source data is greater than master table data set, then please select the full cache mode. Okay, now let's talk about another scenario now. Okay, suppose if you have like 100k, or let's suppose if you have like 50k records in your master table data set. Okay, and here your source data is just like let's suppose 1000 records only. Okay, so here in this case, definitely if you select the full cache mode, now to cache this entire 50k, definitely it will take some kind of a memory, and this will also bring down your lookup cache mode performance also, and hence it will also bring down your SSIS package performance also. Okay, because to look up just for 100 records, or I will say 1000 records, we are caching the entire 50k records into the lookup cache memory. Is that the best practices? No, I will say no, because this is not the best practices, right? So in this example, then what cache mode you will select? Definitely no cache mode. Okay, so here if you have such scenario where your master table data set is greater than source data, then definitely you have to select the no cache mode only. So let me write it over here. So if our MTD, that is master table data set, is greater than the source data, the input source data, then here we have to select no cache mode. Okay guys, as the name says, no cache means it will not cache anything into the lookup memory. So definitely our 1000 records which is coming from the source input data, it will directly look up for the property types directly from the data warehouse, and once it's finds it's matching, definitely it will dump that necessary data directly into the data warehouse. So this way we are not caching anything into this lookup cache memory. Okay, so by selecting the no cache mode, so this way we are doing that job very easily, because we have to just dump only the 1000 records. So this is the complete example for the no cache mode guys. Now guys, let's move on to our final cache mode setting, that is our partial cache mode. Okay, so let's talk about the partial cache mode now. One more point guys, I just forgot to mention previously in our no cache mode, that in case if you want to disable the cache mode of the lookup component, then please select the no cache mode. So by selecting the no cache mode, you are disabling the cache mode of the lookup component. Okay, so this way you will not cache anything into the memory, so everything will be from the data warehouse only. Okay, so this is all about the no cache mode. So now let's talk about the partial cache mode. Now this is the third and final mode, that is the partial cache mode. This is like a hybrid mode of other two means full cache and no cache mode. Now partial cache mode, now let's understand with the scenario now. Okay, suppose let's consider the same scenario where we have 100,000 records as a source data and 50k records as our reference data set. Okay, now though we have 1000 records as our source data, but here our unique values suppose are just 100. Okay, suppose we have the 1000 properties to be loaded into our data warehouse, but the property types which are there in this source data are just like 1000 only. Okay, so they might be repeating property types, they might be, but if our take the unique values of that property types, it is coming around 100 only. Okay, so now technically if you see, we have the 1000 records, but we have only unique 100 property types only. Okay, so in this case what I will do, if you have such scenario, in that case you can select the partial cache mode. Why we are not selecting the full cache mode or no cache mode in this scenario? Because if we select the full cache mode, means we are caching the 50k records into the lookup cache memory. So definitely the full cache mode will not work here. Now what about the no cache mode? So if we select the no cache mode, means all this 1000 record will be directly catered by the data warehouse. So that also we don't want. So why we don't want? Because as we can see here, we have only the 100 combination values here. Okay, so for just 100 values, so why we should send the 1000 records to be get queried in our data warehouse directly? Okay, so in that case, in that particular case, we can use the partial cache mode. Okay, so now again let's talk about the partial cache mode. Partial cache mode means the value from the input source data, that is from here, it's first checked into the cache memory. definitely. And if that value does not exist in that cache memory, then it will query to the reference data warehouse. So what will happen? Okay, suppose if you are now we have like 1000 records, okay, but we have only the 100 unique values. So every time this record goes, okay, and passes through the cache memory, so that value will be checked if that value is present there in the cache memory or not. Let's suppose if first record went and directly checked into the cache memory, definitely that value will not be presented. Okay, so it will go and ask the data warehouse to cater that request. So the data warehouse will cater that request and it will save one copy. Let's suppose it saves a property type as flat. Okay, so now this flat is saved into this cache memory. Okay, so now we are talking about partial cache mode, guys. Okay, so now my property type flat has been saved into this cache memory. So now the second record suppose comes, and now this is like a property type having, let's say, apartment, or let's say villa. Okay, now definitely this request also data warehouse will cater and it will save a copy into the cache memory. Now the third record, if that third record comes and if that third record property type is also a flat or villa, so now that request will not be catered by the data warehouse. So we are saving that load of data warehouse because that value is already present into the cache memory. Okay, so this is like a on demand cache mode. So if you select the partial cache mode, means it works like a on demand, means all the values will not be cached here, but depending on the source data it will cache 1111. Okay, so like that it will cache all the 100 unique property types. So once it cached all the 100 property types, then definitely for other 900 records it will not create a load on the data warehouse. So this cache memory will cater remaining 900 records. So as you can see, guys, we are not creating the load of 1000 records. We are just creating the load on the data warehouse for 100 records only. So once we find that 100 records, then remaining that 900 will not create a load on the data warehouse. So this is how we are saving the memory, saving the load of the data warehouse also, and we are caching only those 100 values which we needed for the caching purpose. Remaining we are not caching it. So this way we are not selecting the full cache mode, and also this way we are not selecting the no cache mode, and this way our partial cache mode is been helpful for us in this scenario. Okay, so guys, this is all about the three types of cache modes available in the lookup component, that is full cache mode, partial cache mode and no cache mode. So hey guys, if you really liked our content, then please show us your love by liking this video, and if you are new to our channel, then please subscribe to our channel, because your one like and one subscribe keep us motivated to create more such technical videos on MSBI and as well as on Power BI. So thank you very much guys. See you on our next video.